Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you again to the Junior League tonight for the first, but not the last. That's what she said, Lehigh Valley edition. So here's the thing. I agreed to speak here tonight before I was really sure what I knew I was going to talk about. And like some of my new siblings up here on stage, I didn't necessarily think that I had a story to tell, or not one that was more important than anyone else's. And I was right, but I was wrong. We all have a story to tell, and that's what we're learning tonight. We'll continue to discover, there's only a few more of us, I promise, that while our journeys are unique, we are not alone. So I've heard this event described as the party after the dinner party, a place where the stories get told that aren't quite fit for everyone to hear. And as I thought about it, I flashed back to a moment in my own life that was among the lowest, but led to a moment of realization and subsequent transformation. It was about 12 years ago, and like any mother of a toddler, I was in the bathroom trying to get ready for the day as my daughter was running around in the bathroom. There's no rest for the mamas, right? And she was singing and talking and opening up the cabinets and pulling open the drawers and moving things all around in the bathroom. And so I peeked out of the shower just to make sure that it wasn't, utter destruction. And in that moment, I saw her go underneath the cabinet and pull out the scale and lay it down and step onto it. She was 2. Now, a scale is not inherently good or bad, but it's our relationship with the scale that demands interrogation. For me in my life, a scale had been the thing that I returned to every single day, to step on, to see how I measured up in that moment, to make sure that that number was the same as the day before. Less would have been okay. Less was always welcome, right? That scale was just a normal part of my everyday. As long as I can remember, my mom stepped on a scale and my grandmother stepped on a scale. It was an expectation for women to know their weight and to control it. You step on the scale in the morning, right, before you eat, but after you use the restroom. That's a knowing laugh, Yeah, I'm not alone. And it dictates then how you feel for the rest of the day, what you eat or what you don't eat, how you see yourself for the next 24 hours, right? Until you're back on the scale the next morning. In that moment, when my daughter stepped on the bathroom scale, I realized that while she may not yet have those feelings of trying to measure herself against the impossible, she was beginning a routine that could, in time, come to mean more than just seeing those numbers fill the screen. And she was learning it from me, not from magazines or television or social media or any of the societal influences that I lecture about as a media literacy educator. She was learning it from me. So I sobbed. And it was that ugly cry that hurts every part of your being. And so picture it in the shower, too, so it's really dramatic. And I'm sobbing. I can laugh now, it's 12 years ago. Every part of me hurt, right? I had already broken her. I was trusted with this beautiful little life, and I had taught her how to crawl, and I taught her how to walk, and I taught her to climb the stairs, and I taught her to step on a scale. I stopped crying eventually. And in that moment, I made a promise to myself and to my daughter and to my future daughters, because I now have 3, that they would only see me love my body and love it fiercely. My weight is simply a number of fact. Calories are the thing that fuels us, and our bodies serve us better when we are good to them. Since I've started to explore the role of the scale in my own life, I've found that so many others have shared similar experiences. But even beyond the scale, we have a society where we've normalized talking about our bodies, not for what they can do, but for how they look. We say things to ourselves about ourselves that we would never say to those that we love, and we'd very rarely utter to those that we loathe. And we don't always say these things internally or quietly. It's common to bond with others about wanting to lose weight, cheating on a diet, or not liking the way that we look in a photo. We compare ourselves to others, and we compare ourselves to our previous selves too, the previous selves that we didn't think were good enough back then. As a society, we talk about other people's bodies too. Many feel perfectly entitled to tell someone that they're too fat or too thin. And these remarks start early. Women and girls can recall these comments from as early as elementary school, if not sooner. And as I've talked with people over the years and poured through stories online and Twitter threads and social media posts, they shared very early memories of being body shamed and how it impacted their relationship with food, with their family, and above all, themselves during what were critical developmental phases. So whether these remarks come from external sources or internal sources or an unfortunate mix of both, we internalize these remarks and spend our precious time and brain power thinking about weight we want to lose or gain, hair we'd like to grow or lose, the muscles we'd like to trim down or bulk up, and how to erase the lines that took years and decades of laughing to create. We have created, or more accurately, inherited, a culture where it is totally desirable and yet completely impossible to be perfect. Totally desirable and yet completely impossible to be perfect. A world where disordered eating, anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and body dysmorphia are all too common. But I'm an optimist, so here's the silver lining. We have the power to disrupt this cycle. While we may not individually have the clout to change the societal narrative about our bodies, we can change the conversation in our homes, in our families, and in our circle of influence. And when loving our body does not feel in reach, we can practice, as my friend Jamie Karpovich calls it, body neutrality, meaning we may fall short of loving our body on a daily basis, but we can still value who we are and all that we can do, and remind ourselves that our worth lies not in how we look, but in all that we are. And the even better news, while our individual influence may be limited at times, there were 250 of us in this auditorium. It's cool. I know, I was tired. I really snuck out too. There are 250 of us in this auditorium, and we can create change by speaking our mind, sharing our stories, and selecting where we spend our dollars. Tonight in this room, we can promise that the generational pain of shaming our bodies and comparing ourselves to the impossible stops with us. We can recognize the power of our words and actions and choose both with care, knowing that they hang on far longer than they hang in the air. We will encourage the young people in our lives to recognize that beauty comes in all shapes, all shades, and all sizes. We will remind ourselves of that too. We will remind ourselves often, and when we have a moment of doubt, we will remember that the next generation is watching, and we will love ourselves fiercely so that they may do the same. Thank you.